ge che don so gi chon chan ju par do dani kyap sun je da ge jin so ge be chonam gi do lo pen je san ge ro bo san ge che don so ge chonam chan ju par do dani kyap sun je da ge jin so ge be chonam gi Dola penje sangye ro parasho Simjen tamje dewa nan dewe gyodan denpa gyoje Simjen tamje dunga dan dunga ki gyodan trawa Simjen tamje dunga mebe dewa dan mendawa gyoje Simjen tamje nyire chadan nidan dawe dan nyamla neba gyuruje Simjen tamje dewa dewe gyudan denbar gyuje Simjen tamje dunga dan dunga je gyudan trawa gyuje Simjen tamje dunga mebe dewa dan mendawa gyuje Simjen tamje nyire chadan nidan dawe nyamla neba gyuruje Simjen tamje Dewa ta dewe gyudan denbara gyuje Simjen tamje dunga da dunga je gyudan trawa gyuje Simjen tamje dunga mebe dewa da mendawa Simjen tamje nyeri chadan nidan ta nyamla neba gyuje Sajibyo eji Juje men do tam re ro le je yo de ge em bo ende son ge jendo me de From now on to ensure enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. From now on to enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. From now on to enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyfulness. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. May all sentient beings forget happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyfulness. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyfulness. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. Kange tujeng zongwa tawa tamje bombe chire tambe chine tunje se kodam tela chalo yada jerumchi sung turbinala kanji sergirila nyechena te ndapchatam to sergitu kanji tukirila nyechena te ndapchatam to tukiku songres ate kar sungorna ngone ngaranzo mi jambada nyije jizo nipe ngone 주바 근처 낭
기 셈데 아니 그게 초라 카장겐지다 저봐 야부지나 이 룽아지 녀제든지 야부지 자에다 니들이 지도지 땜바이나 니 지도도 야부차 그래스 가지 뚜그리는 녀제나 세데 아니 또 난게 셈데 녀모 보완도 손대겐 지도 된리지 때나 디 녀제대야 룽아지 녀제대야 다 수보 마룬와 아니 직 이젠라 너비 세와지야 와다직 린 잠이다 용거리 와다 뚫랭이나 풍야마다 되게 겹산래 지어 말와 와다 때내지 자그래서 순거라 때문에 문이다 직 개바침배 냠낸 적인지나 되게 문이 전던지니 소실융아 셈들의 슈다 다베 토니 융아디 남규르 간리치 통구도 되게 윤도 슈다 던 거 빼면서 깨치 모르겠어.
In the documents of one of the great Master Lama Tsongkhapa, he mentioned that when you rely upon the golden mountains, all that species on that mountain turns into gold, and when you rely upon poisonous, everything that it's on that mountain turns into poisonous. So he's using this kind of metaphor for especially Mahayana practitioners. When relying upon or when under the influence of somebody who is very much kind of oriented towards engaging in positive activities, and therefore expressing that through physical and verbal action, relying upon that kind of individual is like relying upon a golden mountain, and then you will have a positive influence from that kind of individual. On the other hand, relying upon somebody primarily with the negative mentality, afflicted mind, and therefore expressing those through physical and verbal actions, such as harming others, harsh words, offending others, then under the influence of that kind of individual, you might get kind of these behaviors as well. So for Mahayana practitioners, it's really important in one's day-to-day life to kind of be extremely aware of one's thought and how those thoughts were translated into action, physical and verbal actions.
근데 인들라 당가서 시지 최대니 오늘 잠불링기다 나라 상주 두야기 차힌나 몇도 메롱하지 딱 오늘 중대기 차가라 있어와 니니 간데지 직 샘기 상게 이 미게와 쳐대 카티야지다 에게we 쳐도 꽁펜도에 탑란데 땡겨어 마도 디 나진지 제네 탑란데 땜바나진 소순 메소지하고 마도 탑란데 땜바나진지 메소 맞으나 디 산초지인데 두수 레일아버지 직 나랑서 니제 되게 저래 레일아버지 그렇도야 하고 싶어라 했어.
So the teachings or the topic that we are studying in our classes, you can say that these are inevitable instruction, in our present world, how to engage in, positive activities, or how to have a good moral ethics. And in this text, we find kind of instruction or method or technique. How can you improve the qualities of, positive mentalities or positive emotions, and how can you decrease and reduce negative mentalities or negative emotions? However, here, simply intellectual understanding is not enough. Without making some personal effort, there won't be any transformation, in your practice or in your behavior.
오다 된데 많이 받지. 샘데다 뉴몽 강 뉴몽 저게 미게 쳐데 깨시 지데 몽파 마리바 아즈데 남바상견 주고 조세된 주고 다 머리버텔라 자출 문다 니요 나니 미시바 생이되기 아주 풍바치기 왔다 아주 삼다나 하고야시리 다리 빈 갈다싱인데 코너 텔레간 삼로 집사로 다마 하고야 말이데 미시프 몽바티기 강배 잠불리나 강알지 띠기 왔다 인산타 에 잔주 냠네 답배 파기 몽베 왕도 규네 답 미세 타슈 같이 지은 것도 인산 하고 거래 답배 잠불리나 답배 잠이다 용구도 와 아니 진 엔베 젠세 발라 소소로 소크란 르당 통엔데니 가진 것도 그래서 미시프 몽베 왕기 중앙인바다 원숨 세tum 자리어레스
For the training or practice of our thought, in Buddhist understanding, the very root kind of source or cause is, as many of you know, ignorance or not knowing. And this, ignorance or not knowing, we can kind of categorize into two form or two type. One is simply we call kind of not knowing or unknowing, and second is more kind of more intense, deeper level, which is it's the ignorance, not knowing, but it's the exact opposite of valid reasoning. The first one, which is more kind of common, simply kind of not knowing, not having enough kind of understanding. Out of that kind of ignorance, we see how much harms are inflicted upon human community by human beings themselves. To extreme kind of extent, we see people who are willing to give up their own life in order to take the life of others, and these are considered as a kind of the result of not knowing or ignorance.
What the aranzo Nishib Mombade Lovjonche any Yaniando Samadana ko Lovjon Chi Nakachi Lovjon Chebena Titsuchi Suso Zanche de Hakwaiores. Ta Zembade Ripengalda said, Where Netsu Chetamche Tenjin Devanjomi in Bengalder Cube, Zembras Medenzite, Mone Ripa Yantaltene, Samlo Nenten Tangan mother, one bon number, Shindo one bottom potential mother, the Kotuya Kagayores.
The first level of, or first form of ignorance or not knowing is something which is much more easier to deal with. When you engage in learning, understanding, just learning one thing means you are free from one ignorance. So you can kind of accumulate knowing, therefore eliminate, not knowing or ignorance. And so there are many different ways to do that, including kind of learning, studying, education, contemplation, thinking. The second form or second level, which what we call in Buddhist understanding opposite to valid reasoning or valid intelligence, points to the what we call truth grasping mind. This kind of lack of knowledge or ignorance or not knowing is, as said earlier, reasoning and knowledge, something that is kind of engaged in practice by practitioners with high intelligence.
What the Galata, Maranzo, Dindi Junzan, Dindiji, one talent, some Kawazambori, me, Kiwa, Bundama will lay girde, Tal Dindigi, Junzan, Dindi Tuyade, Kawashi Chadiore, Dindi Nigala, Maso Nishicha Chede, one Sangi San Rejeki Tano, Yana, Mena, Jawatan, Chicken, Robachi Belam, Janjuki Sem, so Zondentin again, Junji, Tai, Yas Muzu Tomezam Zejagote, what a Chick Katsu Tutu Jingazo do Sine, Chingin Chede, Be Misuka, Kazam for some girls.
So we consider this kind of gathering teaching as a very kind of auspicious for both speakers as well as for listeners. From Buddhist perspective, we might have taken 100,000 human lifetime life form, but it is extremely rare to have kind of opportunity to engage in this kind of understanding, contemplation, and the text actually the text from many different Buddhist scriptures. This text kind of presents us the essence of both method and wisdom. In one word, we can say the Bodhisattva, awakening mind or altruistic mind. So we will do our best to kind of engage in understanding of this text.
오 야와탐제 저바치베 람세야데 뒤숭기 상게 탐제 냠렌제야데 동인도벨 타와 동인도벨 타웨 애니베 ngui nyambu nyomongi 다 원인지거래 디 nyambu 톱출이 체로 당야라 자주기 셈마고나 된 손음 랍침부지 사두고 말에 손음 랍치 삼발라 자주기 셈고거래 자주 셈기 또다 제베 애니베 동니도벨 타와데 애니 시티기 nyam본도데 애니 상게 사도고래 데베 상게게 냠는 때가랑 지거래 단다 차지 게진베 상게기 다사회 상기 좀 된데이나 따가래 차지 게진바이나 에 간질 남탑식이 냠는 자고래 마음바나 상경규 말한소이나 람틱 냠는진의 상계고를 마도 람데 냠는 맞에 상계예요 말때 인디 드바치빌람 시야데 다 된지라 공부시고 거래.
The understanding of this concept we also consider as the only way to attain enlightenment. It's the same approach, method, way that has been adopted by all enlightened Buddhists of the past. And understanding of emptiness along with the or supported or accompanied by the practice of altruistic mind. And altruistic mind, as you know, requires immense accumulations of positive merits. So combination of these two, emptiness and altruism, these two combination becomes so powerful kind of technique or method, and these two combination can also become antidote for the the subtlest obscurations, what we call cognitive obscurations. So this is also considered as the only path, only way that has been practiced by past enlightened beings as well as ongoing or current practitioners, and this will be the only method for future practitioners who want to going towards the same destination of enlightenment.
와다티니 인디갈라다 드린 가서 지야데 라렌 소디면아니 기부충우 딩 첨보들다 도수용 거래 디다 라렌 소디면아니 시 관계 땡겨와다 드린 주야데 인기론다 다 기분딩 기부충우 딩 첨보세야데 사무탄족이 개발이 잡아래 둠타지데 따웨 개발기 전이 따와에는 차라당 데네기 개발기 존타지대 개발대 중으로 디 주럽도 남적기 시라비 다 장엔 토는 중으로 디 로야치 중 미게 가르소로 삼로 랍치 중 토니 기분 딩데 중무 첨보성인데 누수 중으로 해서 디 땅보 신다 좀 된데 숨다 숨어야래 이나양 셀도 덩는데 아니 장주 남긴 되면은 셀도던 anything 나 람림다 아니 베투스나 셀도던도 숨어야돼 도수진이 중어레스.
So we are studying this short text called the 37 Practices of All Buddhism, or 37 Practices of Bodhisattvas. In the text, as you know, we see the mention, or today we're going to talk about these three classifications or three types of practitioners. Commonly we called small scope practitioners or small capacity. middling capacity or middle scope practitioners, and then third, great scope practitioners. And these three different kind of category or classifications came mainly because of the differences of extension of thought of the practitioners, or you can say capacity of the thought or mental power of the practitioners. Therefore, these three different types or classifications. On the other hand, when we look at the four philosophical Buddhist school of thoughts, or four tenets, they are four because of the different subtleties of the philosophical concepts, and that arises mainly because of the intelligence differences among the followers of these four different school of thoughts. So these three forms or types of practitioners, small, medium, and great, although it was Buddhist, we find in Buddha's own scriptures, Buddha being the original kind of teacher, but later we see these are more skillfully elaborated, beginning with the text by great Indian master Atisha, A Lamb to the Path of Enlightenment, and later we see further more kind of explanation in the other texts such as Lamrim, Stages of Path.
Tindi indalada chanchu lamdam khoranala kibu chumude gunjin kanjo kanji thamne gandala korwe dewa tsamdala rangi tondu ngerjibe kibudini tamashe zersungre ta ti garachung gore kibu chung singde loge chungchung shibojire ngansong sungwe dungallen jine ta ngansong sungla mekiaki nyomora patsan donni ngontoladam surimsu ngontoladam mi kopang tondu dibude ladam mi kopang 더둥 크로알은 로사핑 지고 말 딘들로 게 충중지라 기부 충공세 숭도와
강시 탐 간다게 고에 대화 좀 들어
랑이 돈도 녀시 기부는 타마시스.
These three types or forms of practitioners. First, small scope practitioners. As we stated before, we find this definition meaning mentioned in the Atisha's text, light to the the lamp to the path of illumination. In defining small scope practitioners, Atisha mentioned that those who engage in the method simply to free from simply to attain happiness of the happiness in the cyclic existence, and they primarily engage in kind of self-oriented result. So what we see here mentioned is that small scope practitioners, what they are trying to free from is simply a lower rebirth. They try to free from lower rebirth, and what they try to attain is higher rebirth. And they are not even thinking about freeing themselves from cyclic existence or samsara. So in terms of their objective, their kind of understanding is considered as a very small, very limited.
어따 딘디가랑 오니 기부 충무신데 미담마존 미 푸스도보 로게 충충 미장 퉁퉁지기 삼도단게지 지고래. 아니 사람나라 기부 충무라 기부 충은 침버서 중이 침버서 숨자 자그래. 어따때 로고이 바기 미바서 야체 중고 토니 어따 개버데 자고래.
So in ordinary understanding, we can say that this kind of practitioners are very narrow-minded, very short-sighted. And in the text of Path and Ground, we find even further classifications of just for the small scope practitioners. We find small, for small scope practitioners there is a small of small, medium of small, and then a great of small. Based on the capacities of their mind.
어다 맞아 배제 단 랄런스디면 신도 저게 간데 동알남 제디다 간데 간로 간손 숨시데 냐와기다 돈도 숨 디자고래 위페 릴렌 디부 투베송스 디지르 솔라 밥장 위페 남야미치 가슬알린 세데가라 다 완송은 미껴야 잠지 뇽몬스는 스타트 빠르다 간송 미케 도미야데 뇽몬 락파라파돔 아니 술팀송 몬달라다 미 고바투자 라미 고방 데르마도 또둥 프로완 달탑기 미울 코람 맨데긴 드리지레도 뱃되게 내지 마부시부집을 차도와시.
So in our text, the verse that explains small score practitioner, it's verse number 8. Verse number 8 reads, Buddha has said that the grief Buddha has said that the grief past endurance of creatures whose lives contain nothing but pain is unfortunate fruit of the wrongs they committed against other beings in lifetime gone by, not wishing to suffer from horrible torment, not flinching if even our life is at stake, turn from all actions that harm others, other beings. The sons of the Buddhas all practice this way. The practice of the Bodhisattva is not of this kind, which is the practice that is adopted by small scope practitioners. As said earlier, small scope practitioners, their only objective is to attain a higher rebirth and free from lower rebirth. In lower rebirth, here it is.
doing.
Sorry, I'm just checking at the translation. The translation which I kind of like to read for your own, easier to kind of understand this Tibetan in English. The subduer said, all the unbearable suffering of bad rebirth is the fruit of wrongdoing. Therefore, even at the cost of your life, never do wrong. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Bad rebirths or lower rebirths basically refers to the three lower rebirths, of animal, of hungry ghosts, and hell beings. So those were something that they try to free from. And afflictions or negative emotions or that they try to abstain are very kind of gross, not subtle, not difficult to kind of engage in. And their objective is simply to attain a higher rebirth. So as said earlier, this is very something kind of limited.
What Shinduzo Kangande Lungalnam, Vipelli, Legin Tibur Tubisung Siade Karasu, Tubet Jumden de Karasung Yorzana, Sawa tu ina, Yagata Lomaya tu, Sawa Maina, Yagata Lomaya Mendrosung Yor, Dunala. Oda Naranzu, Azansin Marie P. Jisundrone, any Chawa Kadish Chebaina, the Yumung Ge Kachoni. 디 인디부데 중간 중그레스 아니 젬벤 장주기 셈 야니 땡진 대원 중아 아니 뭐니 수초탐쟁이 내루 찌마치진지 통하고네 아니 룽아기 녀체 가르쳐 봐나 아니 베직 자와 메인나 야가자 로만 디우단 찌바 메인 바나신지 아니 되게 왜 쳐서 가다야 돼 아니 되게 아니 베 땡기시데도 두그리 됐어도 왔다 됐어 문에 야부로 와. 문에 학과연도 왔어. 나랑도 대완되기에나 잠니지 장주기 셈 라 동이도벨 따와라 장니지 장주기 셈기 애니베 캡틴진이 냠된 제바이나 애니 신디기바 치마 애니베 지 전주나 소나네 장주 셈게 따준네 제네 대완 로알 심시스 기루기루 세야데 뭐만 용해 자고래 데레 다때만 임바단지 머리 왕도잖아. 아니 고투르니 툴른 로야르 마도 용해 코네 요 말에. 자와 뚜이나 야가들 로마에 뚜시 뚜게 랑네 젠 강가 너버체 요르와. 왔다 때소네 지레. 왔다 때소 공바지네 야보레스.
It would be helpful if you kind of reflect on what has been said in the Buddha's own discourses or sutra, that something that grows from poisonous root, the branches and the fruits would be also poisonous, and something that grows from the seed of medicinal. The branches, likewise, fruits would be also medicinal, and actions and behavior that is very rooted, or it's rooted in the thought of self-grasping mind. And with that kind of self-grasping, ignorant mind, whatever that you kind of express, actions, physically, verbally, mentally, would be result of that negative thought. Therefore, non-virtuous, unwholesome, and at the end, suffering. On the other hand, practice or behavior which is very much rooted or result of the proper understanding of the reality of how things exist, with the understanding of the such as dependent origination or dependent arising, whatever expressions, physical, verbal, mental, that you do, it becomes very much positive, oriented, virtuous oriented. So therefore, result of those actions would be happiness and joy and peacefulness. And so engaging in the practice, generated by thoughts such as understanding of emptiness, loving kindness, compassion, will bring happiness not only in this lifetime but for future lifetime as well. So these are something that should be helpful to kind of think along these lines of the text. No.
Yeah. Oda dosi nigalang one 기소 기부충 다 기부충 세대 수도아 원이잖아 기부충도 통화잖아 고아대 야가래스 기부충 짱짱라 같은 거 말디 기부충 딩기 람라 냠는 지야지기 이스 땡기였다 딩게 랍 냠술랑자 충국이 딱 딩다 충딩 투모 냠술랑자이나 투몽세 대제를 뭐지 가르잖아 투몽 남자는 듣기로바나세 되도아 투모 세대 규비 중에 냠술랑자인 딩게 냠술랑자인자 충딩 다 규비 준비 딩냠술만라 용예요 말이 규비 중에 주고로 아니 미다 바라바도 냠술만라다 아니 장주기 샘생인데 냠술 랑긴세는 오모셔래까지래 뒤배 기부 충딩 투모 냠술랑자인자 기부 충무도 투모 주고로잖아 과대 빼서 야보여래스 빼지네 기부 충무 주고 딩기 주고 제여데 나랑도 파시디가라 기부 충무 나니 딘 투모 예니 딘다 심비 투모스 라비나 디 야보여래 기부 충무 카탕라 카탕겨 말디야 기분 딘다 텐데길래 카탕에 그 돈달라 람림 뒤순 거래 어떻게 인데가라 투모 아니 기부 충무도 투모 주고서 당연히 되자기나 고아디 야가여서 송도 우스.
So this verse 8, if you have this outline from this note, it says how to train in the path of the initial level practitioners, that is the practitioners of small scope. And the another way of understanding is that this verse, when explains, it also tells how to be if you are interested in kind of becoming small scope practitioners. And what does small scope practitioners do? And that is shown in verse number 8. And in other texts like Stages of Path Lamrim, we find this is not only in those texts it is called the practice of small scope, but it says practice of small scope and general practices. So this includes small scope as well as general practitioners. And so that would be more kind of complete understanding instead of just saying that this is the practice of small scope practitioners or initial level practitioners.
와다 도스레다 디 우바데 다 기분 딩기 저거를 대시거래 다데 인디깔 디데 냠도 람림데 로그이나 베펜도 용서로 와 어디 직 야분과 와다 딩기 기분 딩시데 간데지야 나말레 노몬데 타르신 거래 냠는제 미다바 시거르데 미다바 락바섬 치어 미다바 텐데참 말이 kambaji son tesara mare ngone nesulta kechi jiya de midaba thamode rang kechi yu taga rang tum dengenji yugen se be stopji jindoya tende maimba tel thar chimbare rang kechi yu taga rang jibade yugen jingi jiba jujung yugen le jenla stop 먹어봐 rang kechi yu taga rang jibe ngang전 tum dengenji midaba thamode chegore midaba ina wata tin digala 로자 체로 첨바래 남지 체로 첨바래 미율대야 아니 녀몽 락바자마임바 녀몽 때니메아즈네 녀몽 참어인제니 무엔지메 또네 때니메아즈네 tarbe kopang aranchi bi tondala tarbe kopang tukwenji tarba tukwen tarba sidigala garre nyumu mi chingwal trowaji guguarwa tarba jebani garsa tarba sid le당 nyumu zetbetar le당 nyumu namdole teta trele trebale tomba nikin gabar kirso tongni ene nyamlinchini wata le당 nyumu zetap chenginji jenjitigala tarpa tundung yangenji sidi tarpa gewala shane eni gewam besunchene di topgeni be nyangde tungenji la sikiyutigala juk logya cheyadang eni tablamina yacheru chagado wasi tosu hibu chungule.
Next verse 9 shows the we can say the teachings of the medium scope practitioners or middle stage practitioners. Like the dew that remains for Kishla didn't read that yet, so I'm not reading it. Compared to the first level of practitioners, small scope, the medium scope practitioners, in terms of afflictions that they try to eliminate, afflictions are much more subtler. In terms of their mental strength, they are much more stronger, and their understanding is much more higher. The impermanence understanding here is not kind of gross level impermanence, understanding of just like sudden changes. Rather, it's the understanding of subtle impermanence. Subtle impermanence in the sense that every phenomena by nature, impermanent phenomena by nature, kind of momentary. And that momentariness nature does not depend upon kind of factors and conditions that will come up later. But as soon as that phenomena came into existence, at the same moment that nature came into existence as well, momentariness or impermanence. So they have an understanding of complete freedom from all kinds of afflictions, but solely for oneself only. So therefore they try to attain what we call liberation or nirvana. And liberation is freeing oneself from the bondage of all kinds of afflictions or delusions or defilements. And in fact this refers to freeing oneself from karmic actions and all afflictions, so with the understanding of emptiness.
ngubulutuke tarpaje jane jingwale turwawo jinga karek jingore ledang nyomombe wangi jindegen eni teli ledang nyomom dila eni gyapten sodi jigape ledang nyomo zebetar ledang nyomo namdole tesa tuli trebale tongba nikinga parkyuseyade ta ngone gumbu ta ngumulutu ta eni jigapa niga eni pe yapsi niga lone ta pe nimbu진 수는 것도 왔어. 어디 되게 공부하잖아. 펜도 연구를 했어.
So for nirvana or liberation, in Nagarjuna's own words, he says that it is this liberation or freedom is freedom from a bondage of karmic action and afflictions. And it is further kind of elaborated in the text by Aridev in 400 verses or 400 stanzas that, as said earlier, that kind of bondage by karmic action and afflictions can be freed by or ceased by understanding of emptiness.
Oda lamdro nala 기분 링데 간대진 원진지 그러다 시페달에 겹쳐진 리벨레를 도다니 간지런지 잠년에 니 기분 되는 링시자 저 송도와 어다 시바드네 코로와라 빼 그 땡기 견도 동네 다에 미즈바 나랑도 매동래 총님 누구 말와 대나진지 다 오네 코로와래 간지스타나 삼벨루슈 좀 깨고 그래 갭기 줘봐 딕바스인데 또 그냥도 원진제네 답በት 그 때라네 타답제 등면 어다 뒤에네 란치비 돈도에네 디부에네 배 라좀베 디부 야니 라좀 세된 라디 뇽몰 자네 디메어스게 디좀버징이 어다 디 에네 배 텔린 대바 텔레베 타승을 가자래 어다 딘데기 에네 배 쳇빈양대 중인지 어다 덴지 기분 딩자기 원진지기도 왔어.
In the Adisha's text, Lamb to the Path of Illumination, Adisha kind of mentioned about this, in explaining middling school practitioners or middle school practitioners is somebody who is opposed to the happiness of cyclic existence, and somebody who totally, abstain from creating negative activities, and who strive to attain liberation for just oneself only. So we can see here the middle school practitioners, their objective is to free from cyclic existence and to free from all kinds of afflictions, and through not engaging in kind of negative activities. But that is mainly to kind of attain what we call for destroyer, for oneself only. For here refers to the afflictions.
오다 라는 수드면아 디송도 수숨대와 자세 질바진 유점지긴 집에 앙진 남양 민교로 다외 구방초 돈돈이와 갈살 알린 세다 오다도 수송도 왔어.
In the 37 practice, the text that we are studying, verse number 9, the teaching of the middle school practitioners, like the dew that remains for a moment or two on the tips of the grass and then melts with the dawn, the pleasures we find in the course of our lives last only an instant, they cannot endure, while the freedom we gain when becoming a Buddha is a blissful attainment not subject to change. Aim every efforts to this wondrous achievement. The sons of the Buddhas all practice this way. If I read the shorter translation. Like dew on the tip of a blade of grass, pleasures of the three worlds last only a while and then vanish. Aspire to never-changing supreme state of liberation. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas.
But 시숨 대와 자세 질바진데 만한조다 코로와 코르제기 레라 게벨레요레 미게벨레요레 게벨레테야 코로와 깨지지 게벨레 인치질라 자체 게벨레 라요레 텔라 오늘 타르투베 대화치다 용거 말에 타르투베 대화데 자메 이 레데 다 똥용 원숭도 떠나 아니 레 간디스타나 다 레레데 다 자메 길레레 자메 아니 똥용 원숭도 떠나 코라 펜제기 레 살사 균이 용거 말에 레 탐제 자메레 아니 진짜 개뱅올라 가포야 되리 어디 간지 똥이기 마람베 똥이기 마짐베 레디 아니 다 게벨레이나 간지 유점진 아주 대화진 연구 아주 자외 아주 단지 말이 보고도 사빌레레 대왕기 잘해 디인디가랑 아주 망체지 가려래 룽알 대화 징거래 룽알기 유데 대화를 징거래 망체 가서 룽알 대화는 좀 로시 진짜 수도아 띵아주 길러 망체가 강가들이 아주 단답에 가나 좋았더지나 파리니 좋아 뇽제 제대 율 파전이 수도도 이어받는 게도 와 나는 안신지 뇽에다 수도도 이어받는 냥뇽거래 아니 뒤에 단다 이침바데 수도도 이어받는 지니 이침바 지거래 띵두가라 아주 굴게 강가 말이 병원 자왕도 주다 사치 계속해서 말해도 간지 아주 롱초 용해야 돼 짐비 디부터 레데 이나 사체 임바다 디레 자체 신디 추신나 진지레스 추신제고 리부지 있다나 되니 양년도 연구와 말해 왔다 장주기 셈기 짐베가와시 간데 있나 존 엔디부 제바메와 존 존신나지 요래 이제 왔다 존주된 텐디스무도와 텐디 인디가랑 알아서 가서 뚝뚝지 장주기 셈라 카탕야지다 아니 단지 마리 파싱데라 쫀도 따투베나 벤도 용거 어떻게 인디가라 간체 자체기 게벨레이나 간체 판자레 도르자리 내가 딱고 냠술랑 거라면서 탈디 즉 말아서 디 터두기 두자리에서도 상상기가 말이야 생긴 거래 가리 거의 리분지야 된 리분 찐지나 고제 두고 거래 사실 니마 큐츠베나 지바 매차도도 와 왔다 대선이지 템포야 말에 수순 거라 말아서 단디 코로나는 게 개와 간데 집아이나 다티 템포 용야라 동일로 콤반데 당부 대지점 주고 와 자주 되니 너지데 애니베 삼노탄 둔징으로 퍼주 둔징 강라 랩겨데 야 삼노탄 산남되네 원숨도 퍼투나 오다 되니 zon데 다 오네 나랑서 가서 이템 필요와 애니 상기 고반 되제 세난도 탈반 되제 얼마데 되니 강당나마 손 추고래 오다 되인데가라 유점진지 빙안진 남의 민규로 타베 고방 저세대 남의 민규로 타베 고방 때문에 오다 송영 원숨도 떠도 맞았다 타베 고방 란 되제 강당데 추고와 말해 오다 대엔 돈등에게 지금 나타 오네 장주 가르스고래 야외세 장주기 셈 라이니 디적인지 야외세 생들이 디 냠내 리즈데 다티 숭고하러 아요규라 오다테레 되니 디스서 녹음인데
Jesus shows him to pleasures of the three worlds. I'm using the other translation because this is the direct translation of the Tibetan words. So pleasures of the three worlds is considered as the what we called in another word contaminated pleasures. Those were not considered as the ultimate pleasure. As long as the pleasure that is in the cyclic existence, that is in three worlds, as translated here, are considered as contaminated. Those could be the result of positive activities, but contaminated. And by nature, we can say that those are the result of the negative, activities. On the other hand, there's a whole kind of, another levels of, result, which we call the opposite of contaminated, non-contaminated, and that is the result of, as mentioned here, through the practice or understanding of wisdom realizing emptiness and attaining of liberation. The pleasures of the three worlds, they are considered as the contaminated because they are the like the result of what we use in metaphorically the results. They are the fruits of they are like the trees of plantain trees or banana trees. It will yield a result once, and then there's it's no more kind of usage there. While practice, which is rooted in the altruistic mind or bodhicitta, it's like a tree that will give fruits every year. And the contaminated, pleasures of the, they are like a very kind of short term pleasure. It's used the example of dew on the tip of a blade of grass, lasts only a while and then vanish. And on the other hand, if you, kind of prefer to attain never changing kind of, happiness or ultimate non-contaminated joy and, peacefulness, then one must kind of engage in the understanding of wisdom realizing emptiness, first beginning with merely kind of generic knowledge, and then kind of taking that into the next level of actual understanding of the meaning, and then making that more clarity, and attaining the direct realizations of emptiness. And with that, one can attain complete freedom from the cyclic existence or a supreme state of liberation. Because our ordinary ways of comprehending things and phenomena is very much kind of what we consider as a sort of illusion, mistaken, and we considered the seed of the suffering as a kind of seed of happiness. Therefore, we actively engage in planting those, and at the end result will be always kind of suffering and difficulties. And when we look out the nature of things, we hold on to the wrong concept that we have, as if things exist, independently, inherently, intrinsically, although that's not the reality. So in a way, we can say that whatever movements that we do while in a samsara or cyclic existence, everything is kind of influenced by dominated by the ignorance or not knowing or contaminated.
Solo Gandina Rede Mother Yomaridi, and Lamdana Solo Rede Mother Midua, what at the Lamdin than Chat, Tachi, Dizoani, Lamrim Kaptu Pagi, Hibu Chung Kaptula, Tumor Lam Katula Karasundu, Din the Tumor Lam Kota Karasundu. This was touch it, who's saying, Rabatan, the Rangi Semdana, Jungin, Ten Chatogin, Tata, Rugumido Katina, Rataj Tanda, Tini, Pendoyungris. The mother Juni Shesha, the Semlan Jamatubina, the Coparulici Jundene, Tataji, Pingmaris.
So in this text, as well as in the Adisha's text, we find only one verse kind of explaining the teachings of these different scope of practitioners. So in more detail, you can look at the Lamrim, the great stages of path by Lama Tsongkhapa, and you can look at the teachings on the small scope practitioners and general practitioners. Under that, you will find the small scope practitioners, verse 8, more detailed explanation. And again, in the Lamrim, when you look at the practitioners, the medium scope practitioners, you will find the more detailed explanation on verse 9. And the important thing here is that when studying this kind of text, you need to kind of matching with your mindset, what mentally state you are when you compare to these teachings and when you are studying this. So if you just leave this as a kind of something that is learn, a study, kind of dry intelligence, there's no really benefit of studying this. So you need to kind of apply or implement in your own thoughts and how much that you are part of these practices. So we'll take a break here, Krishna said.